Welcome, Capricorn, to Energy Alert, deep dive special forecast for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. Across the 28th and 30th of June, there's an incredible amount of planetary activity. Some of it is highly charged with energy, and some of it can be potentially hugely draining. How do we navigate this? On the screen is your event chart of the Capricorn full moon, which is at the heart of this and provides a backdrop energy for the first 2 weeks of July. I'm going to unpack it for you, and by the end of the video, you'll have a clear picture of what's upcoming around your vitality, work, relationships, and finances. Thank you so much for joining me, astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. Please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. So on the 28th, Mars, the planet of passion and action, moved into the quick-witted sign of Gemini, where it will be for the next 6 weeks. And that links immediately with Uranus, the planet of electric excitement, very much about change, and can be quite a restless combination. But because for you they're in the 6th house, very much to do with physical vitality, the likelihood is that they can give your stamina a really brilliant jolt of celestial caffeine. But what we've also got on Tuesday the 30th is Jupiter, the planet of hope and growth, moving into the fire sign of Leo. And the air of Mars and Uranus in the sign of Gemini feed the oxygen to the fire of Jupiter in Leo. And it really is one of the most energetic aspects you can have, an enabling 60-degree sextile. And I think for you personally, that really is going to give you a lot of spark, a lot of ignition, really exciting. But what we also have on the 29th is that Mercury, the communicator, has gone into a retrograde, which lasts through to the 23rd of July in your opposite sign of Cancer. Now, Mercury doesn't do that well in water signs. We had the Mercury retrograde in Pisces earlier in the year, if you recall, and that may have been a time of great frustration when it comes to quick communications and technology. Mercury doesn't particularly thrive in Cancer because the water literally erodes the clarity and detachment that Mercury likes. However, for you, it is in the 7th house, and Mercury's asking you to sharpen up your listening skills. So over the next 3 weeks, the chances of crosswires are strong, but it's also a chance perhaps to rethink certain relationships that you have. But also across the 29th or 30th, depending on where you live, we have the full moon in your zodiac sign. And that is in an opposition with the sun in Cancer, like Mercury. So let's just think of the archetypes of the sun in the sign of Cancer. Very much to do with protectiveness, can be to do with security, and it can be to do with that more emotional instinct. Whereas the energy of the moon in your zodiac sign, it's about control, containment, and being very responsible. But in your first house, the moon is asking you to be much more conscious of what you get from situations where you connect to others. And if you don't feel that certain relationships have a good balance between the give and get, this full moon, which naturally creates a lot of intensity because the moon and the sun are in competition, that is what's going to come up. But pinned between them in a T-square is the energy of Neptune. Now, Neptune's going to be in that 4th house for many years to come for you. It can be, if you're a very creative or artistic person, a fabulous, passionate energy in Aries, especially if you've got home interests or hobbies that you can really get lost in and be very, very lovely indeed. But that T-square is the apex of the tension between the sun and the moon. And that tension has to come out somewhere. So it could come out around your emotions, the 4th house. And of course, the moon is about emotion, but can be very pragmatic in your zodiac sign, even if technically in detriment. But the position of Neptune square the moon can create great, a great confusion. It can also be very draining. But then on the other hand, the square between Neptune and the Sun may make it difficult to get clarity with someone you want to discuss things with, not just because of the Mercury retrograde. It's just they may not receive what you're saying in the way you mean it. So it's more about comprehension than communication. So one of the things that can happen for us all over the next few weeks is an oscillation between the three key cardinal energies. The moon in your sign, very powerful. The sun in Cancer, very powerful in terms of being a cardinal sign. And Neptune in Aries, very powerful in its own right too. So they're competing to have the authority in the situation. So you might feel around a certain relationship that your direction is unclear. You might feel that maybe a little bit confused about what to do. It may be that someone you're connected to is playing the martyr, perhaps in a home or domestic or family situation. So it's not an easy T-square to navigate this one. And one of the things I think it can do is really, really drain us out if there is any complexities around a relationship of any kind. So it may be that we're going to be much more sensitive if we don't feel that we're getting the responses that we would like. If someone seems cool or detached, or another person seems a bit too needy, that could be a bit of a turn off too. So despite the fact that we've got Mars and Uranus and Jupiter in one of the most highly powerful and energetic relationships possible, that Neptune down there in the fourth house of emotion is very, very complex. So let's just widen the lens. You also have your ruler Saturn in that fourth house, and ironically, Saturn is forging a brilliant link to Venus. So if you're in a relationship which is clear of any kind, and each person knows exactly what their role is, I don't feel this event is going to change that. What I do think the arrival of Mars and Uranus and Jupiter is going to be great if you want to be much more proactive to squeeze more from your long-term resources. You want to do something more entrepreneurial, especially that's more innovative with Uranus in the mix, and Jupiter moving into your eighth house of long-term finances could be very good. But if you're discussing a collaboration, a relationship, a partnership of any kind over the next 2 weeks, it's vital that the terms of reference are very clear. And even that dialogue may be challenged to a degree because Mars may be so impatient. It's in a T-square with the North Node and also the South Node. So the ideas that you've had or have been the bedrock of your thinking over the last 18 months, whilst they've been in Pisces and Virgo, they could be challenged by Mars and Uranus in the T-square. So something that seemed to be quite constant now could meet some kind of roadblock. And it could be very disruptive, but it could happen very quickly. So I feel there's a lot of physical tension, but there's also the potential for confusion and uncertainty, even if you're trying to get your point across with crystal clarity. But I think in general, YouTube sphere, it will all get blamed on Mercury retrograde, but it really is because of Neptune and uh, the Mars node T-square 2. So I'm going to summarize those four areas of vitality, work, relationships, and finances next, Capricorn. But I've reduced the price of my personal horoscope reports. It's now buy one, get three. The one you pay for, your life roadmap report, helps us to get a greater understanding of our life patterns. Free, your 12 months transit forecast, but also your draconic soul karmic analysis. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your July monthly forecast, please check that out, and also your Jupiter into Leo 13-month forecast by clicking on the eye, the information eye on the screen. If you've yet to sign up for your free daily written horoscope, you can do that below. Get your early day celestial pit stop fired to your phone. And if you'd like to work with me one-to-one, please see my testimonials below. So I'm going to summarize the areas for you now. In terms of physical energy, I feel that that can be very high. But you know, when we almost have too much energy, and Mars and Uranus in Gemini is a very restless combination anyway. It could be so hard to sit still we end up sort of doing something quickly and knocking ourselves somehow. So the energy, the physical energy you've got does need to be outputted in a kind of well-measured way, and that can be tricky. However, the link between Mars and Jupiter particularly is terrific if you want to take a more imaginative approach to existing resources and squeeze a bit more out of them by just being so determined to look at things in that new and fresh way. As far as everyday finances are concerned, Pluto continues in its retrograde in that area, but is in a very strong link with Mars and Uranus. And again, if you're wanting to apply for different jobs, I think your enthusiasm and passion could come across very well. But whether around relationships of all kinds, this is going to be an easy fortnight is a really mute point. I think there could be some real distortion in terms of people's reactions, that however much we make it painstakingly clear what we mean, that they still get the other end of our stick. What's good about relationships for you is that Venus is going to be moving on the 9th into your sister Earth sign of Virgo. Technically not her best location, but for you, I think that will bring some real clarity, even though Mercury will still be retrograde at that time. We've also got a new moon on the 14th, and that also gives a chance to create greater clarity. I hope you've enjoyed being with me. Thank you so much for joining me. All the best, Capricorn, and see you again.